you can't just sit there and think about it and sit in the chair all day. Like sitting in that chair is not going to get me to that point.
Yeah, and goal setting specifically is a tactical tool that, I watch you do every morning. So, we'll both be getting ready for our day, and there's always this point where he comes over and gives me a little kiss, and then he's headed to the chair.
A lot of times the ideas are way bigger than you give yourself credit for even being able to accomplish. Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Idea Show, and I am bringing my chiropractor to the center stage today. The one, the only, the crowd goes wild. Dr. Joey Vrana in the house.
Hey, guys.
What's up? Oh, so this guy, he is my best buddy. He is my soulmate, my husband, partner in chiropractic, all things life, and the best father in all the land. But for those of you that haven't got to meet you in our Lighthouse, Vrana Chiropractic Big Idea events, tell these beautiful people out here, who is Dr. Joe?
Well, I've been a chiropractor for 13 years. Me and Devin here graduated together, and father of 5. We have 2 sets of twins.
We always have to throw that in. It's like we say we have 5 kids, but there is this and by the way, we have 2 sets of twins. What's that mean? How does that describe you as a father?
Well, massive action. You never sit down when you have kids in general.
Right.
But you get some twins in the mix, and it definitely is a 50-50 partnership. And it takes both of us all hands on deck all the time to keep the wheels on the train.
Wheels on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Go round and round. We like to have fun, and that is one of the reasons I get so excited to twist his arm into coming in for podcast episodes. We started chiropractic practice together, and then a few years later, after we went through a series of different life events, his dad had cancer and passed away while we were in chiropractic school. Then my uncle developed a brain tumor. We were helping take care of him on hospice shortly after my mom got sick. We went through a lot of sickness, a lot of death, and that's when the God call for the Big Idea came around. And I said, hey, can we have this event, this thing at our house? And how would you describe our very first Big Idea event?
It was a big vision, and it definitely was based off of the B.J. Palmer, who was the developer of chiropractic's Lyceum, which was a big tent out in the field where you just bring the passion and the purpose, and the whole goal was to change people's lives and help them get a different message, or get the message that we wish that our parents would have gotten earlier, because we feel like if they would have gotten some of those ideas, maybe they would still be around. So
yeah, that's the premise and the heart of these events, our practices, this show, this YouTube, just literally anything and everything that we do together and as a family is, the heartbeat of that mission is that we're all kind of one big idea and one adjustment away from a healthier life, a happier life, a more prosperous life. And for me, that comes down to a few key principles. I think, they hear the cliches in our household a lot where I say, how you do one thing is how you do all things. And it's true because there's just a few roots that we make all of our decisions and choices and habits upon. So when I ask my guests to come here and I want them to share one major premise, one big idea that then lots of little choices stem off of. So Dr. Joe, if you had your practice in front of you or whoever's on the other side of this camera, this microphone, what's one big idea that is kind of a central theme anchor for your life?
100%. It all goes back to setting goals and having a big vision. And not just setting goals, but writing those down every day, reading those consistently, keeping that vision in my mind so I can watch it play out. Because if you're writing down your goals and you're planning your future, it's crazy how quick those things happen. When we've done vision boards over the years and put different things up on the vision boards, it's crazy how fast the things manifest right before your eyes.
Yeah, and goal setting specifically is a tactical tool that, I watch you do every morning. So, we'll both be getting ready for our day, and there's always this point where he comes over and gives me a little kiss, and then he's headed to the chair. And I know, like, he's getting his mind right, and goal setting is, to walk us through, I guess, in tactical tool, like, how do you action this, right? Because a big idea without action is...
Well,
it's just an idea.
It's just an idea.
Never has legs, never goes anywhere, but you are also the king of massive action in our family.
And some of it too, like you can't just write down you want a jet or a Ferrari or what. I don't care whatever your goal is. Those aren't necessarily my goals, but you can't just sit there and think about it and sit in the chair all day. Like sitting in that chair is not going to get me to that point. But having that vision in my mind certainly plays into my subconscious, and it changes my actions throughout the day to have that play out.
Right. So you're getting ready in the morning.
Yep.
And you got your handy-dandy notebook and your red pen, and I love it. I mean, it's a discipline for you. It is an everyday thing for you. And then, so what do you do?
Well, and based off of the book Think and Grow Rich, they talked about all of these graduates of Harvard that 20 years they studied these people, and they told people to write down their goals. Out of all the people that graduated, 2% wrote down their goals over those years and set goals, and those 2% were worth more than the 98% combined. So that just stuck with me. That it was like, this is a huge deal to plan those steps out, and a lot of times you don't have to know how the goal is going to happen. A lot of times the ideas are way bigger than you give yourself credit for even being able to accomplish. It's just the idea that you're putting out there. The other thing that someone said was, if you ask for $1 or $1 million, the universe doesn't know the difference. It's just that the mind of the man got his mind around the bigger vision. So it's just putting it out there. Sometimes you don't have to know how it's going to happen. So, but it is definitely, when I'm doing it, I put, I am worth this amount. I am a great father, and I'm intentional with my kids, and I date my wife weekly, and all of the things that I write down on there. It's more a present tense conversation that I'm saying I am these. I'm putting that out there. So.
And then you couple it with one more step that's been like one of the non-negotiable pieces.
And then I do some breath work.
Yep. Why? What does that add for you?
Well, it's a level of discipline. It's just it locks it into my subconscious mind that I'm. Anytime you hyperoxygenate your brain, you are turning on different motor neurons and different pathways to lock that stuff in. And so I do some breath work with gratitude, and then with seeing my goals in my mind. And then the last set of breaths that I do is actually envisioning the feeling that it will be like when those goals manifest.
Yep. Joe Dispenza says that, it's kind of a two-way radio, right? So our thoughts, we've heard this all now, like The Secret, that thoughts become things, and we anchor into this thought, but the feeling is what draws it back in. That's how you boomerang these things back in, is to imagine what it's like in that life that you're bringing about. And so there's lots of different techniques, but that, I mean, in kind of witnessing how you go through that, because one thing we hear all the time is like, well, I'm just busy, right? Like, how would I have time? But that usually takes you about
10 minutes.
10 minutes maybe, right? And some days are more of a squeeze. Do you notice a difference on the days that you don't go through these steps?
100%.
What's the difference in Joe who preps his mind and his breath and his body, and Joe who doesn't?
Well, I'm leaving the day up to fall back in the same routine pattern of the day before, or if someone else calls me with an idea or a to-do, I may let that to-do slip in front of the actual to-dos that I should be doing that I know would be moving the ball forward on my own goals and my own things.
Yeah, and you are the master of your fate, right? But we have to set that type of a mindset. And that's why I think, a lot of times when I invite different guests on here, they do things that they become such a like part of your day you don't realize, but you can look back at versions of yourself when you weren't starting the day that way and how those days played out versus this day. And we can all have the excuses of kids or work or XYZ while you can't, but we try to get up and move our body and do these types of mindset, preps and breath. It looks different. It can be prayer, it can be gratitudes, it can be lots, but it's more the intention and the discipline that you're creating that focus. So for somebody out there, that is maybe new to it, what would be a couple tips and tools that you would say in getting started and sticking with it?
Well, I mean, it's really just taking it one day at a time and putting a couple of non-negotiables in there. If you go to work and you haven't had coffee, you didn't brush your teeth, you didn't take a shower, you didn't do any of those things, you literally got out of bed and went in the office, how much of a peak state would you be in, as opposed to getting up in the morning, getting out in the morning sunlight, moving your body, some sort of exercise, breath work, a cold shower, having your coffee, brushing your teeth, you're just a different version of yourself when you show up. And it's really the discipline of creating that person that is able to hold a bigger container and have more.
Yeah, so. And after 30, 60 days, you're starting to hardwire these things in. And so, I think checking it off that you're doing it each day just takes you a little bit closer to becoming the person that it's your habit now. You mentioned peak state, and so that comes from our adventures at Tony Robbins. And for somebody that hears that like peak state, how would you describe that vibe, that type of energy?
He would have you hit your chest, and then he would act like there was a string pulling your chest up to the ceiling, and so your chest is up, your shoulders are back. A few deep breaths for sure gets your mind right. But that's being in a peak state when you walk in a room, as opposed to poor posture, shoulders slouched over, frown on your face.
Yeah, the position and posture of your body, the tone that we carry will then affect everything, right? Because we've all walked into a room where there's like a party going on and you can feel the energy of that room, but we've also walked in when people are having an argument and you can feel the tension. That energy contagion, it has an effect on everybody that touches you. If we go to a couple of big ideas, because we do juggle different hats, right? So we have, practice, and we have marriage, and we have kids, and this season of it's fast, right? It demands a lot when we've got football over here and gymnastics over here and running businesses and projects and things. What tips would you pass out because I know being a dad and, really being in that role is so important to you. So what would you speak out specifically, I guess, to dads and fathers for being your best self for your family?
Well, you can expect from your kids them to be doing things and showing up in a big way if you're not showing up that way yourself. So I think it all is top-down leadership, that if you're not showing up that way, then how are you going to expect your kids to show up to class in a peak state and get good grades and be the star on the football team or the state champion wrestler or whatever it is, if you're not showing up your state champion version of yourself every day? So
attitude reflects leadership, right?
Sure.
And that's we have a few of those anchors. You also share with them fear nothing. And in a time where there's a lot of chaos and fear, and we're in a political season, what do you think that anchor does? We have 4 boys and 1 girl, but specifically to boys. I mean, I just think, culture has shifted a lot over the last few years, and having this really sturdy, strong, fear nothing mentality and do the work, master of your fate, like that, you don't just fall into that. So, why is fear nothing? I mean, if I asked every one of our kids, what statement would you say describes something your dad would walk in here and say? Every single one, fear nothing is what they would say. So why is that so important to share with our family.
Well, and we do goal setting with the kids too. I make them write down those big dreams to be a state champion wrestler or to be the running back on the football team or whatever. You have to write it down so you can start to put the action steps in place. But the fear nothing, I think, just boils down to massive action and just not being scared to just take the first step when you're doing something. A lot of people look at big projects and it's just too overwhelming. But it's really just taking that first step in the right direction. Or you want to be the state champion wrestler, well then do an extra 100 push-ups, but do them every day. And you start taking that step, and pretty soon you start building that momentum. And so that's where fear nothing. It's just like whatever you're tackling or whatever idea you have in mind, it's the idea that there's nothing you can't figure out. When the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So
yeah, and we've lived through a lot of stuff, a lot of hardship, and life is going to life. So we can't protect our kids from that. And so trying to build them strong instead of save them or even protect them from what life is going to bring their way, I think is very important to both of us. And I just, out of gratitude, I just thank you for coming, here. And we've evolved a lot. If you saw us back in 2010 to us now in 2024, we've evolved a lot. And we've really, especially the gift of the 2020 to now chaos has been, we've really rooted down as a family and made our marriage more important and really worked and done 75 hards and things that make us better versions of ourselves and worked on staying committed to each other. So I'm grateful that you squeeze in anything else that, you might have that one patient or that person that just needs a little ray of light because they're in a storm right now. Is there anything else you'd speak out into the ethers today to plant a little seed of
just don't make it too hard. If you're starting a health journey, a finance journey, I don't care what kind of journey or what kind of hardships are in front of you. It's really just take it one day at a time and do the next day a little better than you did the day before. And when I'm writing down goals and doing that kind of stuff, it's not just financial goals. It's health goals. It's marital goals. It's being a father type goal. I mean, it's all of those things. It's not just goal setting for wealth or whatever. It's really like painting a picture and having a vision for what you want. I mean, really for what you want written on your headstone someday, for what you want people to say about you someday, and then what you want your legacy to carry on like. You have to start to build that vision in your mind. Yeah. So
how big is big, right? Like when we write our core values and our family mission statement down, it's 7 generations, right? We want it so big that, generations from now, our greats will say, those two crazies.
And they'll still say, strength and honor, fear nothing.
Fear nothing. All right, guys, that is this week on the Big Idea Show. So grateful to have Dr. Joe and his humor and his light, and he makes it all fun in a world where health or transformation can feel really hard.
Thanks for having me.
Always. You're going to get roped into this again. So you will see more of him and of me. So we'll see you for now. Catch you next time.
Bye.